Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. And apparently, I got yelled at when I tried to hit the go live button last night. Because Streamlabs was like, this title contains banned words. And it was like, it didn't like MILF. It didn't. Even when I put the star. Even when I went M star elf or LF, it was like, no, this is a naughty bad word. You cannot have this word in your title. So that would be why the stream title today is the way it is. Because apparently I'm not allowed to say MILF Monday, even with a star in it. I don't know why, but yeah, apparently
because MILF is for porn.
I've seen people with straight up F-bombs in their titles.
I've seen people with straight up porn on their YouTube channels, so I don't even want to hear it. That music is really loud again.
Still?
Well, yeah, you have to have it at 2%. I've told you that.
How do you get it off the 5% increments?
Oh, it really does go back up to 5. I don't know.
And now it's muted.
Oh well. Honestly, I think the music is a big problem we're having lately too.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of. I'm actually getting kind of tired of dealing with freaking claims.
Yeah.
So, claims are pissing me off. They're like the last 4 videos have had like literally 10 to 12 claims per. Now here's the shitty part. You can't just select all 10 claims and then allow it to do its thing, because you have to you can't just go like, okay, all of them, just get rid, just delete all that sections, right? Yeah. No, you can't do that. It actually goes, each individual line has to re-render the entire fucking video and the entire live stream.
Jesus.
And then you have to do it again. And then you have to do it again. So it takes like 5 hours to do sometimes one live stream.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, so I just gave up.
That is absolutely stupid.
Are there any naughty words in the title of this stream? Button. Blind press.
Hello, Costin.
Button.
So yeah, apparently having MILF in the title was a naughty thing to do. So we will refrain from having any naughty words in the title. We will refrain. We will be good. There are no naughty bad words in the title of the stream. Anyway, that doesn't mean that there won't be any naughty bad words in my ranting. But hey, that's besides the point. There was another no confidence vote today. It was defeated again. But we have 29 days before the Bloc Québécois withdraws their support if the Liberals do not play ball on their old age security and their seniors, like their GIS and all that stuff. I don't think the Liberals have enough time and enough money to do what the Quebec people want. So I think we're gonna see by the 29th we're gonna see another no confidence vote, and this one is gonna be upheld by the Bloc, or this one's gonna be supported by the Bloc, because the Bloc insists on doing things their own way. They couldn't just vote with the Conservatives and get things done. No, they had to play a stupid political game with their power. It was a power play, basically, from the Bloc Québécois. Because fucking French, you know? Blame the French. That's what I say. And I am part French. So blame the French, damn it. But before we get into our political stuff, because I do have a video on American politics and I have question period. We have some other crazy internet drama, and apparently It Smells Like Teen Spirit has been deleted. Rockfeed has put this video up where it says why Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit has been deleted. So I'm wondering if it's like, did Courtney Love get mad about it being on YouTube or something? I don't know. Because doesn't she own everything now? Didn't Courtney get like the rights to everything, which made people really pissed off? Anyway, let's take a look at Rockfeed and see why Nirvana's song got deleted.
So imagine you're at home relaxing after a long day's work and you go to put on YouTube, you want to watch some music videos, drinking a couple Steve Weisers, and as you pull up the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video from Nirvana, which is iconic, you find out it's been deleted from the platform.
Wait, really? It's gone? Like, it's actually,
That is unfortunately something that a lot of people have noticed. And even worse, it's not just Smells Like Teen Spirit that has been deleted. It seems like the world's gone crazy. And so is this some sort of a hack? What is going on here? It turns out
the world's gone
some
crazy.
and so is this some sort of a hack? What is going on here? It turns out some artists don't just regularly upload their videos on YouTube like most people normally would. There are rights holders and agreements that are in place. And apparently there are issues with a certain company that represents a lot of bands that has led YouTube to pull numerous music videos.
Weird. So, is this an issue between the company, the production company, and YouTube that's causing this to happen?
This is what's going on. In an instant, several thousand music videos have disappeared from YouTube. What happened? Was there an account hack? Is YouTube going the way of MTV and getting out of the music video game? Not quite. A performing rights organization known as the Society of European Stage Authors and Composers have been in negotiations with YouTube to renew an existing deal, but they were unable to come to an agreement, which has led to the stalemate. Earlier this year, a similar dispute emerged between Universal Music Group and TikTok. That lasted for months, resulting in countless songs being pulled from the platform. Thousands of music videos have been taken down, including songs by Bob Dylan, Green Day, Nirvana, Adele, Rush, and numerous others. A statement released to Variety from YouTube.
That's insane. That so many people so many artists are affected by this. That is insane. Wait, what?
I just searched and it's on Nirvana's page with 1 billion views. Button.
I just searched and it's right here. So what is Rockfeed talking about?
Added chat message. Added pin WR Corsten. Did someone make pin Callow an excessive amount? Pin add emoji.
So what is Rockfeed? Then what is Rockfeed
YouTube
talking
said,
about?
"We have held good faith negotiations with SESIC to renew our existing deal. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts, we were unable to reach an equitable agreement before its expiration. We take copyright very seriously, and as a result, content represented by SESIC is no longer available on YouTube in the US. We are in active conversations with SESIC and hope to reach a new deal as soon as possible."
In the US.
Back in 2008,
I wonder if that, because it just said it's unavailable in the US.
SESIC is no longer available on YouTube in the US. We are in active conversations with SESIC and hope to reach a new deal as soon as possible. Back in 2008, YouTube and Warner Music Group had a disagreement that resulted in Warner pulling all of its music videos from the platform for around 9 months. And for those wondering when they'll be able to watch Smells Like Teen Spirit again, I have some good news for you. YouTube has just released a statement announcing that they've reached an agreement that will ultimately lead to the restoration of all of these videos that have been taken down. Here's what they had to say in the statement about that agreement. YouTube released a statement to Variety saying, "We're pleased that SESIC reconsidered our offer. We've reached a deal."
Reconsidered? Was it a reconsideration? Or was it more like, oh fuck, now our videos are pulled off of the largest social media platform for videos. We better reach out to them.
And content will come back up shortly. We appreciate everyone's patience during this time. Additionally, the president and COO of SESIC said in a statement to Variety, "We have reached an agreement with YouTube to equitably compensate SESIC's songwriters and publishers for the use of their music. We appreciate the support and patience of our affiliates, as well as the artists who perform those songs." And so I think one of the things a lot of people will find interesting about this entire situation is that it's not just as simple for a lot of artists as them uploading their music videos to YouTube. And I think if you look back on the history and the important role that music videos actually played in getting huge audiences to begin coming to YouTube, it's very interesting. And that's why they have these licensing deals, because I think a lot of these big artists and their teams realize that they bring a big audience that wants to see those music videos. And so
does this mean you as an artist, if you are like contracted?
I literally just posted on it. Button. Pintalo the driving ape moderator. OFFS. Button. Pintalo the driving ape moderator. HTT pin add emotes. Button.
You literally just, I know, I was just trying to see if they just talked about it. Sorry. So, anyway, like, I wonder why... What was I gonna say here? We can close this, just so it doesn't buffer. Okay. So does that mean if you're an artist and you are contracted with a label, that you can't just upload your videos to YouTube without like permission from your label, if there's not a deal or something between your label and YouTube? Does that mean you don't own your video anymore? That's kind of shitty if that's the case. I really would like to know if that's what that means. Because if that's the case, that really kind of sucks. That if you are contracted with a label, then you don't really own your song. I guess that's why indie artists want to be indie artists, so that they can still have control over their property, their intellectual property, their songs and their music videos and stuff like that. I guess that's why they want to stay independent, so that the labels don't, I guess, what they call steal their music, which would make sense. So I was scrolling YouTube looking for things to watch besides political stuff, and I found something that Papa Meat put up about Disney adults, and I'm scared because he always finds really horrifying things, even in things that sound tame. Like I don't know where he finds these like depraved people, but he does. I don't and it could be anything. Like, yes, the last one we watched was on the ABDL community. So yeah, that one was gonna be degenerate. But I mean, like, even on other shit, he manages to find like depraved nonsense. And so Disney adults versus the happiest place on earth. That just sounds like something both hilarious and terrifying. And so I grabbed it because I thought, why the hell not? Why don't we just why don't we grab this and see what he's found?
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down because today we're talking about Disney adults.
Oh, and they scare me. They really do. They like, and I know that there are spectrums of Disney adults. Like, there are some that just love to collect all the movies on VHS, like my stepmother. And then there are, like, the crazy people that pay, what is it? Like $60,000 a year to get into that diamond level Disney club or whatever the fuck it is. Those people are nuts.
Oh, it's a reoccurring theme on this channel, I feel like, to talk about Disney adults probably every month. It's always fun. One thing happened recently where there was a couple little lawsuits that happened over some disgruntled Disney adults. It happens. Who doesn't get disgruntled at Disney once or twice, right? But it did make me think, what are some of the craziest lawsuits that has happened at Disney? Whether it be from the Disney adults themselves or from God. If a Disney adult sues Disney, it has to be like spitting God right in the face.
He's gonna have those. Okay, there were a couple, they were like in their 60s, I think. And I can't remember if I covered this on stream or not. But it was a couple weeks back, and they got kicked out of that club that I just talked about. Or not out of the. They had their membership to the special fancy pants diamond level club revoked, and they weren't allowed to go back to the park anymore because they were drunk in public. And so they sued Disney for like some stupid amount of money. And I really hope he has that lawsuit in here.
So today, if I can dig up some of the craziest, weirdest lawsuits online and just talk about them. And this whole idea of looking up these crazy lawsuits online started with a incident that happened very recently at Club 33.
Yes. This is it.
Disney World. We are going to label this the Club 33 banning incident. Club 33 is an exclusive series of sophisticated and luxurious fine dining establishments for elite guests that are found within the Disney parks. This is where you like the Great Gatsby. You're not going to see Mickey in his normal overalls or his breeches. You're going to see him in a nice tux. Primarily, Club 33 was a place for Walt Disney to take potential investors. There was puppets that he would operate on the wall and talk with people. It was a very weird place to get drunk at Disney. I'm pretty sure
that sounds like it would be terrifying if you got drunk at Disney and like just no puppets on the walls. No.
It's the only place at Disney where you can get an alcoholic beverage. I'm almost positive. But when I say this club is exclusive, I mean that the wait list for a membership can take years. Even when it's finally your turn, you gotta be prepared for a $25,000 cost up front, followed by $10,000 each year after.
No wonder Disney has so many lavish things on it in its parks. They charge all these people all this extravagant amounts of money.
Person! Do you got that in the bank? You got $25,000 just to throw at Club 33? Sure, okay. And that's
$25,000 up front and then $10,000 a year for the rest of your membership.
For the Disneyland Club 33 members. At Disney World, it's $3,000 to join, an annual fee of $15,000.
Why the difference?
Christ.
There's no way the Club 33 is that much different at Disney World, dude.
I bet you there's people who are like, I have memberships to...
Oh, dude, 100%. This is like the guy who's holding...
Yeah, there are definitely people that have memberships to both.
There's people who are like, I have memberships to...
Oh, dude, 100%. This is like the guy who's hoity-toitying around. He's just like, I got this new car. Yeah, well, I got the even more luxurious version of that car.
This is literally like Disney adults heaven.
Oh, dude, if you're able to be a sadistic, psychotic Disney adult while maintaining an income that allows you to be able to pay for this, you've made it. I think that's...
No shit. If you can possibly handle the just sheer selfishness that comes with being that type of Disney adult and maintain the amount of the that will give you the income to support being a Disney adult, that's pretty good.
When you could probably be like, yeah, I'm a Disney adult. And they're like, what? And you're just like, Club 33 Disney World? Have you heard of it? But for a couple in Gilbert, Arizona, attaining a membership was not an easy feat. It took Scott and Diana Anderson 20 years to save up for the hefty fees, as well.
So they obviously were not rich people. Like, they saved and scrimped. Like, they had a goal. That was, instead of retirement, that was their goal, right? We're gonna save for Club 33. Fuck retirement.
As 10 years on the wait list. The 10 years is probably obviously a part of the 20, but combining both, 30 years. What would have happened if they would have been like, hey, you're ready, and they didn't have the money? Would they just be like, oh?
They probably take a loan out.
They probably would take a loan out,
probably.
dude. I bet you anything Disney has a bank, just get a Mickey loan. We have Tears, we have a Goofy loan, we
A Mickey loan, a Goofy loan.
have a Donald loan, and we have a fucking Mickey loan. Or a Walt loan. But after
No, Walt loan. Oh my god, I could just see it. Come with me to the Bank of Disney. We will happily extend you credit for your Club 33 membership fees. Most of them are tech freaks. That makes sense. Also, Disney World is like 10 times the price of land. Jesus! The Walt loan is just your soul.
After 5 years of membership, the Andersons estimated that they spent $125,000 annually in
Jesus! Annually? Could you imagine $125,000 annually? How much money you could put aside for your retirement?
Club 33, as well as the park. That's $125,000 a year. What are their jobs where they can spend this kind of money there? They often bring their family and friends along with them to experience it all as well. So sure, they were paying people's dues as well, but still, $125,000.
I would no. You if you want to bring somebody with you, you'd be like, sure, cool, you can come with me. Your portion of the trip is this much. Let's go.
And every year,
I feel like once you're in the club, the drinks should be free.
if I find out that when you're in the club and it costs that, and you still they're like, here's your bill, I would be
I
livid.
am starting to understand why commies hate the rich. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like you could probably hate the rich and still understand that capitalism is a better system, but you can still hate the rich.
If there's a waiter who's just like, there's your bill, thank you so much for it. Got a couple questions. That's been my funny thing lately. I'll hit my card on the beep or whatever. It's gonna ask you a quick question though, real quick. Okay, was that what it said? A tip? Oh, I had no idea. I didn't know what that was.
Today's video is sponsored by MeUndies. Kick off fall with being the most comfortable version of yourself with MeUndies. Whether it's watching endless hours of football on the couch or getting squats in at the gym, the breathable fabric of the Boxer Brief helps keep everything in place. And I mean everything. And MeUndies has a style for everyone, from jock straps to ball caddy. There are over 100 colors.
That's why I'm not skipping it.
Colors and prints to choose from. But MeUndies is no one-trick pony. Ooh, easy, girl.
This year just fuck off already.
Why?
I just read Frank Fritz died.
Frank Fritz.
Do you remember the picking show? The Pickers? The American
Yes.
Pickers? The good one of the two.
Yeah.
Not the tall, lanky one, the short, smart ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead.
Aw.
Oh, well.
So it's the debate.
It's also the Waltz versus Vance debate. That would explain viewer count.
Oh. It's the crazy American vice presidential debate.
Girl. They also have joggers, hoodies, shorts, and onesies, and more for both men and women. And their materials are sustainably sourced. Be your most comfortable self this fall with MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/PapaMeat. Thank you to MeUndies for sponsoring this video and back.
Should I jump over and cover it?
Use the rotor to access misspelled words. Adam Act new Pintalo the driving ape moderator. Oh right, it's also
But their fun came to an end in 2017 as Scott Anderson had a little too much to drink one day at the park, showing signs of being publicly intoxicated, which is forbidden in Club 33. One of the cardinal sins of Club 33: can't get drunk. That's bullshit. The only
Yeah, right? This is the only place you can drink, but you're not allowed to be drunk.
place to grab a drink in the park. It's your favorite place on earth. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars here, and I can't get a fucking buzz going. Are you kidding me? I can't get a couple Mickey Mai Tais and start walking around the park yelling at children. That's bullshit. You should be given a pass to where someone's like, sir, and you just flash like your Club 33 membership right away. You just like fucking club a kid in the face.
Do anyone want to bet that that's exactly what Club 33 members think they are going to be able to do when they fucking sign up first?
That would be worth the price. But Scott claimed this was due to a medical condition, specifically vestibular migraine. Vestibular migraine. Put up what that is. That's what I have, looking at the fucking bright ass light, dude. What followed is a lengthy attempt to fight the ban, going so far as to spend $400,000 on legal fees only to lose their case.
400 grand! Oh my god! On top of the 125 grand a year that they've already spent.
Oh, that sucks! Even with the staggering legal bills piling up, the Andersons still plan to appeal. Diana told the media outlet, "I'll sell a kidney. I don't care." To be that mentally and emotionally manipulated and completely gone to be like, I don't care. I will pay anything to get back in the
I will
fucking
sell
park
one
and Club
of my
33 status.
organs to get back into the fucking park. What? No, dude. You have an issue. You have a slight issue.
It's kind of makes you think there's some eyes wide shut shit going on in there.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven, kind of.
The Andersons do read like Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven, God's most beautiful angel. But you know, Lucifer, he's just like, what I wouldn't give to just go back. Now he's like sitting there and they're like, he's like with all the other like Disney adult with like trip pants on. And they're just like, you'll regret this decision, Walt Disney.
So he's just banned from Club 33. Do you think he still goes to the Disney park?
I think he's banned from the park. Or is he just banned from
No,
Club
he's banned
33?
from the park.
Security guards found Mr. Anderson near the entrance of California Adventure at around 9:50 p.m. They claim he had slurred speech and had trouble standing and his breath smelled like alcohol. I think he was only banned from the club.
If he's only banned from the club, that's even worse. There has to be something alluring going on in Club 33. Why?
Yeah, what kind of weird cult shit is going on at that club that's making them like, I will sell a kidney?
Why would he want to go back that bad? I'm saying if there's any crazy investigators on YouTube, I am sending you a message right now. I implore you to go out and find out what's going on in Club 33. Or, Nick, I was gonna say we should infiltrate it, but we can't.
Yeah,
By the time
there
we can
you
get
go.
into the f***ing restaurant, people are gonna be totally done with this channel. Next up, let's talk about the allergy death lawsuit at Disney. And
The what death?
done with this channel. Next up, let's talk about the allergy death lawsuit at Disney.
Oh, the
In
allergy death. Okay. He said allergy so fast. I thought he said the algae death lawsuit. I'm like, what?
2023, Jeffrey Piccolo lost his wife Tang Swan after having a severe allergic reaction eating at the Wrangling Road Irish Pub at Disney World, Florida. Tang Swan, being highly allergic to
That
dairy
doesn't
and nuts,
sound very
chose the pub
Irish.
due to its promise of accommodating patrons with food allergies. That is so sad.
Yeah, that really is sad. They eat at this park. They're happy. They're visiting. They want to cover, like, this is a lovely vacation, and then the wife fucking dies.
Oh my god. Also, the way we said that makes it seem like I have a nut allergy. They're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're gonna cook it how we cook it. After making her allergy known and asking for a confirmation several more times, the dish was never properly made allergy-free. Tang Swan and her mother were shopping while Jeffrey dropped the leftover off to his room. During this time, Tang Swan began struggling to breathe and collapsed onto the floor. Quote, she self-administered an EpiPen and was rushed to the hospital. Brutal, dude. When her husband finally got to her, only a small period of time passed before she had passed away. The elevated levels of dairy and nut in her system resulted in an anaphylaxis. In response, Jeffrey filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Disney and the restaurant. But shockingly, Disney argued that because Jeffrey signed up for Disney Plus trial years ago, the subscriber agreement requires users to arbitrate all disputes with the company.
What? That's messed up. That's the Disney Plus bullshit? Holy shit. That is messed the fuck up. Holy crap.
This would mean that the damages for Disney would be much smaller, and most importantly, the hearing would be completely confidential and not result in more bad PR for them. Because he signed up for Disney Plus, he's unable to get any kind of compensation, all because the motherfucker wanted to watch the Goofy movie. Piccolo stated he'd never signed an agreement with the park specifically. Even so, the terms and conditions would not extend to his wife, and this information quickly became a PR disaster for Disney, as people had no idea that their legal rights were possibly being taken away in order to use a streaming service. This reads just like the fucking South Park episode with Kyle signing the Apple agreement. Because of the
iPad, yep.
backlash,
That's
Disney stated they
exactly
would
what this
waive their
is.
right to arbitration and have the matter proceed to court. All right, fine. We'll go against the law and give this guy money. Because he's
Well, yeah, we'll fine. I guess we'll give him money.
asking for a handout. We'll give him a handout. You, Disney. Piccolo is seeking $50,000 for wrongful death. Way more. Should be way more. $50,000?
more.
$50,000 feels very specific to probably something he wants to buy. He's like, sees like a jet ski in his house. He passes every fucking day on his way to work, right? He works at like a medical database center, and he's just like, every day passes, he's just, for whom the bell tolls, baby. I'd be like, give you 50 grand and the fucking Club 33. Piccolo is seeking $50,000 for wrongful death, as well as a mental and pain and suffering, loss of companionship and protection loss of
That
income,
would
and
be-
medical and funeral expenses.
50 grand for all of that? No. I would be asking for way more than that. I could never date someone with a nut allergy. Want something funnier? Uber is trying the same thing with a couple. Wait, Uber is trying the same thing with a couple who, in a car crash, because their daughter ordered pizza on the Uber Eats app. Jesus fucking Christ. What is with these companies, man? They are just horrible.
You know what feels kind of weird too is it feels like in a way this guy loved Disneyland stuff. It doesn't even seem like he's even trying to like get more than what he thinks he deserves in this case. It just feels like a guy who's like, he's not being greedy. He's just like, I actually need this for whatever reason. If it was me, I'd be like millions and millions and millions. Also, I'm never watching your stupid fucking movies again.
No, I would absolutely boycott Disney, and I would be like, you know what? You're a huge company. You can afford this. I want at least 10 million.
Resentment, I would feel. Maybe I'm just petty. Disney's just like, yeah, let me queef that out to you in your lap, dude. We only make that every half second. Are you fucking kidding me?
shit.
Or how about we talk about the woman who was banned from Terror Tower? Now we're getting into the good stuff, dude. A woman named Denise Moody was banned entry from the Tower of Terror ride at Disney World for using it too many times.
How does that even work? You get
Because of this, she decided to sue the park for what she deemed as a medical necessity. How did she try to get that one going?
How do you Yes, can I have a doctor's note for the Tower of Terror ride, please?
I don't go on the Tower of Terror at least, I don't know, 60 times. I'll have seizures. Denise suffered from abdominal adhesions, and that's why she has to ride it. This is when
Abdominal adhesions? What does that mean?
Scar tissue forms between the organs in her abdominal area, causing her severe pain and nausea. According to her,
So she
the
has-
G-forces of going up and down the 199-foot thrill ride help break up fibrous adhesions in her abdomen.
There's no way. There's no way no, I'm sorry. What are you gonna do? Take up residence in one of the hotels? Well, why can't we live in that, or why can't we book that suite of rooms? Oh, 'cause there's somebody that lives there. She has abdominal adhesions, and she has to ride the Tower of Terror every day.
Ever since I've been riding the Tower of Terror, I now only have to have surgery once a year versus multiple surgeries a year. And it's the G-forces that going up and down, because the G-forces are in both directions.
And when they were up, they were up. And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down.
Can you imagine her going up and down? It feels so good! Also, do you think she showed up to Disney World with a with the doctor's note? You're to go to Disney World right now, and you're to ride the Tower of Terror 125 times. There you go. Instead of pursuing practical remedies, Denise purchased an annual pass and was even able to land a guest assistant.
You just sent me Leto's Love His video on it. Reverse vertigo.
Card, allowing her to access a shorter special entrance and ride the Terror Tower dozens of times every Saturday. That is so fucking stupid. It's great.
Oh my god, I can't stop. I can't. What the fuck? Why? What? Does your abdominal adhesions know what day of the week it is? Oh, it's Saturday. It's time for the G-forces to take care of everything.
She rode the Tower of Terror religiously, sometimes 50 times a day, every day.
I actually hold the record right now for the most rides of a single rider, which was 56 times in one day.
It got to
Dude, I love rides too, but not that much.
the point where the park had to reduce her daily limit rides to 4 rides per day. In a blind rage, Moody began cursing out cast members and causing a scene. What the fuck you do? Cuss out Goofy? Get the
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. You can only ride this 4 times a day now. Fuck you! I hate your guts. You don't understand my disability.
fuck out of my way, pussy! Leading to her sending of her guest pass, a ban from Disney property, and an immediate removal from the park. You can't be cussing out Goofy and shit in front of the kids. In response, Denise Moody attempted to sue the parks, but Disney simply stated her claims are without merit. Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
no
what if she
shit.
makes her own Terror Tower at her house, and that's how she dies? Well, a woman locally tried to make a 200-foot a 200-foot amusement park ride in her backyard.
Holy shit. Oh boy. Oh, this is not gonna end well. Okay, go on.
Moody couldn't have been happier in the time of her death. Or we can talk about when a disabled man got stuck on It's a Small World. Of all the rides to be suddenly trapped on for a long period of time, is there any worse ride you could be stuck on than It's a Small World? That
No. Literally no. That's like the worst thing ever. Oh my god.
it's hell. It's a personal, even going through it once is hell. For Jose Martinez, this musical hell lasted 30 minutes straight.
Oh,
when the
God.
ride suddenly broke down, repairs had to be made while riders were escorted off one by one. However, as Jose was paralyzed and required a wheelchair, there was no way to safely remove him from the ride.
Oh, Jesus. So all he had to do was listen to It's a Small World After All. It's a Small World. Oh, Jesus. No,
One
it's
guy
my head.
and It's a Small World. That'd be fucking if you like look back and there's no one else on the fucking carts, I would start getting the illusion that shit was moving.
Yep.
Hello? Not only was Martinez paralyzed, but he also suffered from panic attacks and high blood pressure.
Oh, good. Good. So you've got the repeating horrible song, you're stuck on the ride, you're paralyzed, and you suffer from a panic disorder. Fantastic.
The rest of the ride breaking down, coupled with a seemingly endless barrage of repeating music, resulted in serious emotional distress. No shit, dude.
Yeah.
The condition was aggravated by Martinez needing to take a piss, basically. He had to take a piss real bad. It's a Tiny World is playing on loop in his head. He's seeing fucking dwarves running around left and right, and Goofy's laughs behind him. He's having a borderline panic attack as it is. Martinez was ultimately awarded $8,000 in damages for pain and suffering
That's it?
for disability law violations, which
That's it. $8,000. See, I'd go for like the 50 grand for that, and like the millions for the dead wife.
I am glad he got the $8,000. Makes the guy who lost his wife over the nut allergy needed way more. If Jose's getting $8,000 for that motherfucker who lost his wife needs, millions. That is fucked.
Have you seen the video? I think it's French people.
Oh.
I think they're but they jump.
I love how Hunter's like, ugh. Nick's like, I think it's French people, and Hunter's like, ugh.
I think it's.
That motherfucker who lost his wife needs,
Listen.
millions. That is fucked.
Have you seen the video? I think it's French people.
Oh.
See?
I think they're. But they jump. They like jumped in a small world and they like burnt the whole thing down.
I haven't seen people burn down, but I've seen people get out and like grab shit or steal stuff off the rides.
I think they burnt the whole thing down.
Disney has their own police thing now too. People used to keep getting on the rides and doing shit or like falling because it was like there's like a water track on some rides and stuff where people would be falling into the water and shit. But now if you get out of the rides, Disney police can like run up and they'll straight up like tackle your ass. Next up, let's talk about the woman who was tricked into being on the Matterhorn ride.
How do you get tricked into being on any ride? I'm confused.
So do I take a left? Well, why am I in line now? Oh, Joe, I'm sitting down on a ride. No! This seemingly endless stream of Disney lawsuits is nothing new into the park. Some of these goofy stories date back to when the park was only a few years old. And in 1959, a woman claimed that she was traumatized after riding the Matterhorn bobsleds. I was too, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? I was too. I thought I was gonna break my fucking neck riding that thing. According to her, she had no idea that the ride was a roller coaster and that she never would have boarded if she had known.
So, are you like me and blind? Did you not see the ride before you got on it?
Well, what do you mean? What goes on in the mountain? I didn't know this is what this was! She tried to sue the park and lost the trial almost immediately. In her anger, the woman accosted a Disney lawyer in the hallway outside the courtroom. She then put a curse on him to keep him from winning another case. And
A curse? A fucking curse? I didn't know this was 1550, not 1950.
I'm pretty sure the guy won the next case after. If I was a betting man, I doubt the Disney curse worked. Or we could talk about the nacho cheese lawsuit. In 2011, a 4-year-old child named Isaiah Harris suffered second and third degree burns after eating what was claimed to be scalding hot nacho cheese. I wouldn't have eaten the scalding hot nacho cheese if it was me. The family was taking their first trip to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, deciding to dine at Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe. As Isaiah's food was being set down, the molten hot nacho cheese sprayed into the young man's face. Wait, so he...
How? How can it what did the waitress like slam the fucking plate down so that the cheese just went sploosh all over the poor kid's face? Like, how did it spray all over him?
He didn't even eat it.
No.
Like, walk up to it, here's your food. According to their attorney, it must have been at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. It was stated in the court documents that Isaiah recovered completely from the effects
of
the...
See the ride? Oh, okay. You rode the Matterhorn? Is it like, what kind of roller coaster is it? Is it a wooden one?
Swipe up or down to select the customer, then double tap to activate.
This is funny.
Injuries. A $50,000 settlement was requested due to the damages and extreme emotional distress. Give the dead man more money! I like how they are even like, he recovered perfectly. Seriously, almost no signs of it ever happening. Here's $50,000. The guy who's like sitting there, he's like at his like wife's fucking funeral plot. He's just like, Should have asked for more money.
Right? The poor guy. That poor guy with his dead wife.
The 50,000 thing is actually starting to fucking piss me off now. She asked several times for the food to be inspected, right? And they're like, totally. There's no way that this is not their first rodeo, whatever, right? Because also, you know what $50,000 feels like? It's like if you get 1 million, more eyes are on you about people being like, you got a big lawsuit win. If he's like 50K, he's being modest. He just wants to retreat back, whatever. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Or we could talk about, in 1989, a lawsuit was filed when Lonnie and Karen Boozer, great name.
Lonnie and Karen Boozer.
Brought their 5-year-old daughter, Lindsay, to Disneyland only to be falsely accused of stealing a $2.50 piggy bank.
Wait. They get... what? Okay, they got accused of stealing a $2.50 piggy bank? That's it? What? That's petty.
Give her the fucking piggy bank, dude. It's $2.50.
This is 1989.
Okay, so it's a $5 piggy bank. After being brought to the security office for questioning, Lindsay glimpsed costume cast members walking around backstage without their costume heads. That's when the white girl found out that Mickey Mouse was a 50-year-old Mexican guy. It was
Mommy, why does Mickey look like that?
his day job. You know what I mean? She's like, what? No! No! Also, I'd be like, yeah, I would ruin everything. Santa's not real. There's no leprechauns. Rainbows are just fucking, it's like something with the sky. I don't know what happened. There's no
Rainbows is just something with the sky.
pot of gold, dude. I'm getting hung up on the leprechaun thing. This shocked Lindsay, as only moments ago, she was hugging and shaking hands with her favorite characters before being detained. Yeah, but you were also fucking stealing shit, dude. You're a crook.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. She definitely did it. The parents filed a $1 million lawsuit for being wrongly detained and noted that their daughter became depressed and withdrawn after seeing that her favorite characters were in fact just costumes, that they were just Puerto Rican and Asian people dressed up as Disney characters. And
so because you didn't be parents and explain to her the fucking concept of people dressed up in costumes and that those characters aren't real...
giant felt suits. What do you expect, man? Supposedly, the 5-year-old child had to spend 3 months in therapy because of the whole ordeal. Eventually, the lawsuit settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. They actually got money out of that. The $50,000 guy, the death deal, is on. I'm glad we put it at the beginning because it is stacking up quickly. How about we talk about Pooh takes the stand for assault? This one is fucking tragic. So get your tissues ready because you're gonna be shedding some tears. In 1974, Robert Hill was doing his usual meet and greets as Winnie the Pooh. Suddenly, a 9-year-old girl began tugging at him from behind to get his attention. In response, Pooh hit the child with his arm, causing bruising and headaches that didn't subside for months.
Jesus Christ! How hard did he hit the kid? Good Lord! What'd he do? Fucking good gosh! With the back of his elbow?
He rampage Jackson, that little bitch. She's just like, Winnie! Right to the back of her. This, however, was a series of events according to the girl's family. There we go. In a recent interview, Hill stated that he was trying to spin around and playfully scare her, instead hitting her. Okay, well.
Why would you... Winnie the Pooh doesn't scare children. Could you imagine, like, Christopher Robin is coming to see Winnie the Pooh, and Pooh is hiding, and he jumps out and, bah! Gotcha! Like, that's not what he does.
I'm a bear, remember? It's like you're Winnie the Pooh, dude. Where the f are you trying to scare somebody? A suit was filed against Hill for damages, and it was decided that Pooh would approach the stand in costume to avoid breaking character in front of a crowd.
What?
What? Because costume characters could not speak, only head nods, foot stomps, and big swings of his tummy could indicate answers.
What the fuck? May the record indicate that Pooh has swung his tummy vigorously in response.
You're talking about a guy in a costume showing up who cannot talk, and this is over the assault of a child in a court case. And the person's just like, It took only 21 minutes to find Disney completely innocent, as Pooh's arms were, quote, inoperable stubs. That's such a funny way to describe Pooh's arms. That couldn't be raised high enough to hit the child in the face, as was the parents' claim.
So what the fuck happened to the kid? Like, seriously, what happened to the child?
I knew that fucking little... They were lying, dude. Come on. Oh my god, this is the costume from the 70s when this occurred. I'll tell you what the stubs are. That's a great phrase for what Pooh's arms are. That is insane. Or the Typhoon Lagoon wedgie incident. Yes.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Is for what Pooh's arms are. That is insane. Or the Typhoon Lagoon wedgie incident. Yes, a lawsuit over a wedgie, ladies and gentlemen. Emma McGinnis attempted to sue the park for $50,000.
Again with that number.
This is becoming my number 23. You ever see that movie with Jim Carrey? He becomes obsessed over the number 23. Mine's 50,000 now. Emma McGinnis attempted to sue the park for $50,000 after a painful wedgie left her seriously injured at the Typhoon Lagoon water park on her 30th birthday.
A painful wedgie left her seriously injured. How? How bad was the wedgie that, like, how injured did you get?
She went on the Humunga Cowabunga water slide, which features a near vertical 5-story drop. According to the lawsuit, she became airborne before being slammed downward against the slide on the way down. The impact shot her swimsuit inside her, causing an extreme wedgie.
Ow! Ow, 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 ow. That sounds fucking terrifying. No fucking thank you.
The wedgie's funny because you usually think of your friend pulling up in his asshole, it rips his asshole up, and maybe it bleeds a little bit. It's kind of funny. But to go vertically airborne, shoot down, and then the way that the design is made is that it takes your swimsuit, like rolls it up, puts it inside your asshole and your pussy, and slices you open like a goddamn cheese grater. Are you kidding me? I guess I have some sympathy for McGinnis here. After enduring severe internal pain, she was rushed to the hospital to find that she had severe lacerations, damage to her organs, and a hernia. This is probably the first one where I'm like, this is justified. Well, that...
No, wow. How did... Oh, God. I'm just trying to imagine, like, just how bad her swimsuit went up.
The allergy one. And the nacho cheese. Okay, there's been a couple. This one is just... This is insane. To actually be fucking split open like a goddamn nutcracker, essentially, inside of a slide. That's crazy. Or we could talk about laughing at a disabled woman. All right, now we're starting to get a little more cruel.
What the fuck? How disabled and why were we laughing?
Dude. In 2021, Joanne Aguilar, a 66-year-old woman, was getting aboard the Jungle Cruise ride alongside her 2 daughters. As she was physically disabled, she wished to ride the ADA accessible boat. Because it was unavailable, she opted to ride a non-ADA boat with the help of her daughters. When it was time to exit the ride, she struggled to climb out. Instead of offering to help, Disneyland employees laughed and snickered until she eventually fell back and broke her leg, according to the law. I'm laughing.
Oh my god, what the fuck? They're just like, oh, ha, 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 look at the lady trying to get out of the fucking boat. Ah, oh, shit, she broke her leg. Oh, dear.
Because it's so uncomfortable. But the idea of a woman like, and people are like, and should have just waited for that ADA boat, dude. You know what I'm saying? What do you expect out of like 16-year-olds working at fucking Disneyland? Walt wouldn't approve, but this is 2021 era. Kids are fucking evil. I mean, what do you expect? You know, that's what I mean by what do you expect? She spent several days in the hospital and weeks at a rehabilitation clinic, but suddenly things took a drastic turn. Joanne contracted an infection and died from septic shock. What? It was suspected that the accident at the theme park led to the turn of events? Holy shit! Although Disney denied the accusations, a lawsuit was set out that sought compensation for economic damages, medical, funeral, attorney fees, and other incidental damages. We don't know.
Well, yeah, because if she hadn't gotten a broken leg, she wouldn't have gotten fucking sepsis. Jesus Christ, Disney.
How much she got. I swear to God, if it was $50,000, I'm driving my fist this fucking monitor. That's too much. That quickly afterwards? Are you fucking kidding me? Cut a check, Disney. Cut a check for more than 50. Even if at this point, if it was 51, I'd be like, thank God. This is an interesting case, the next one. The biggest scam that Disney ever saw inside their parks. It was 1992 at Disney World's Caribbean Beach Resort. On Halloween night, a young woman named Wanda Mary Normell was found tied to the bed in her hotel room. The room was ransacked, and according to the police report, she was viciously beaten and sexually assaulted. Mary sued Disney for $3 million for inadequate security. As it turned out, the entire thing was all a part of a detailed and coordinated plan.
So I bet you she wasn't even hurt. I bet you she was set up, or she had it all set up.
Mary was no victim, but instead a con artist from a notorious group known as the Irish Travelers. Goddamn Irish. One day, while watching a TV show about the lack of hotel security, Wanda's brother Jimmy had the idea for the demented scheme. What kind of program was that? Hey, so hotels have no security. Good luck.
Yeah, right? Well, there are some programs on TV that I really wondered about. Like, there was like this Fraud Busters thing on Investigation Discovery, and there were these guys that would go and try to like break into your house to see how secure your house was. And I'm like, why are you showing people how to break into houses?
Like, why would there be a show about that? Wanda agreed to be the victim due to her acting abilities.
I would be the victim because I'm 4'9", and at the time I weighed about 98 pounds. I was real thin. And that I was a good actress and I could pull it off.
Her brother dressed as Dracula, met her in the hotel, and together they ransacked the room. Jimmy then tied Wanda to the bed. They both decided that it was best that the scene looked believable as possible. To achieve this, Jimmy beat the shit out of Wanda to make sure the bruises and injuries looked real.
Jesus Christ! Here, sis. Start reminding me about all the things that you did when we were kids that pissed me off about you. You remember the time I blamed you for the death of our cat?
Because they were real. She's like, I am a phenomenal actor. Everyone's like, we know, Wanda, we know. That's why I want you to be a part of this. She's like, fine, I will. I'm gonna punch you in the face 16 times and we're gonna beat your ribs. She's like, acting. I was in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Just gets in. The police ran a sexual assault evidence kit, but Wanda was already 2 steps ahead. She intentionally had sex with a friend of hers the day before in order to make her story look more believable. Ultimately, the amount of money at play was big enough that it began creating friction between the sister that was along for the con. Wanda's sister Jessie pushed to be her financial advisor. Wanda suspected that her sister was trying to steal the money for herself.
She was going to be my financial advisor. The check was to go in her name. And I said no, because I knew what she was going to do. She was going to get the check in her name and take it.
When Wanda refused, Jessie had a meeting with the police to snitch and come clean about everything.
Oh, what a bitch! Fine, you won't put the check in my name? Well, then I'm just gonna rat everything out.
I knew I didn't want a part of it, but I was in it.
Just keep the money you have, you greedy bitch. Good guy. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? In the end, Disney kept its money and refused to ever speak on the matter. Jessie, the sister, had all of her charges dropped because she's a fucking rat. Jimmy died of AIDS before an arrest could be made.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa! And Wanda spent 18 months in prison, which she claimed convinced her to turn over a new leaf and become an even better actor.
That's good.
But here's the thing. Yes, we're talking about a lot of Disney, Disney adults doing crazy things. We haven't touched on any of like the crazy stuff that Disney has necessarily sued people over as well. There's some dark shit that Disney has sued people over. And one of the saddest events, and I think it's worth bringing up because it's so fucking horrible and I hate Disney so much, we got to bring it up, which is the Spider-Man gravestone controversy. Because in 2019, Lloyd Jones lost his 4-year-old boy, Ollie, to a rare genetic disease. Because of his child's love of Spider-Man, his father made a touching Spider-Man tombstone to give him a proper send-off. It's just a nice Spider-Man climbing over. And it's just, his kid loved Spider-Man. He wanted to remember, what he loved. To the father's surprise, Disney refused to let him use the Spider-Man picture because they want to preserve the innocence of their hero. I feel...
Yeah, because God forbid that something that a child loved be on his gravestone. That would totally ruin the innocence of the hero.
I'm like gritting my fucking hands. My teeth are gonna pop out of their fucking mouth because I'm like. Lloyd became convinced that Disney was only focused on money, stating that they, quote, had bought him all the toys, but now that he has died and we won't be spending any more money, they don't care. Probably a good fucking point because they were like, well, yeah, we have Chinese kids making these 2 penny dot toys. We don't want people thinking that Tom Holland's on this kid's fucking gravestone. Inhuman shit that like lawyers and shit probably think. Because lawyers are scum. They're the worst people on earth.
They really are.
Car salesmen. That and realtors. This goes back to a policy that began with Walt Disney himself. It states that their characters cannot be used on headstones, cemeteries, or funeral urns. Although he was not permitted to use the image.
They actually have a thing that says no No headstones, no urns, nothing.
Disney reached out and offered to illustrate a hand-inked, hand-painted, personalized celluloid that recognizes his love for Spider-Man. I always hate that it has to come to this, like, it's only public outrage, where they're just like, well, fine. We'll let him put Spider-Man on his dead kid's grave. And we'll make it hand-painted. Ooh, you want it to be hand-painted? It's personally for you. Like, I would never want to receive that. After that first initial thing, or I'd just be like, go f*** yourself, I'm doing it. Come remove it, I would like to see you try. You know what I mean? Like, that's absurd. But here's...
That's pretty much, that's where I would be. I'd be like, you know what? You come to my child's grave and you take that off. You see what happens. And
the thing. There's a lot of cases out there. I'm sure there's more that we could even go into. But for now, I think it clearly shows the weird manipulation of families at Disney is such a sad thing. You have these devoted people like it's a religion. Some people, yes, I will say, I think try to abuse the system for financial gain. Some. I would say the majority of these, though, were people that were helpless in a moment and just want to be compensated or to feel like they weren't wronged by the thing that they just desperately love. But you have to remember that Disney doesn't care about you. It's a facade. It's fake. They sell the idea
Disney
of childhood,
wants your money and
nostalgia,
that's
imagination, while they take every penny and every ounce of happiness, joy from you. All I gotta say is be careful at Disney World. It might be the happiest place on earth, but it is not the safest place on earth. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
That was actually a very funny video. As sad as it was, as sad as some of the topics were, that was actually a very amusing video. I'm glad I watched it. That was funny. That was incredibly hilarious. Okay. Now, Pinkala says he sent me a video on that Uber case. So let's quickly take a look at that. Okay. Okay. Let's make sure the volume is up. Okay. So, here we go. Let's go over here.
Welcome once again to Leto's Law. Here's Steve Leto.
I had a whole bunch of people send me this story, so here we go. Couple left with life-changing crash injuries can't sue Uber after agreeing to terms while ordering a pizza. It sounds a lot like the situation that happened with Disney not so long ago.
So they actually said that because they ordered from Uber Eats that they can't sue for damages because of the crash.
The court has said that they agreed to the terms when their daughter ordered a pizza on Uber Eats. At least they say it was their daughter who ordered the pizza.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the Uber agreements kind of reference each other. So Holly Evans wrote this for the independent.co.uk. A couple left with life-changing injuries have been told they cannot sue the company Uber after being involved in a crash, as they'd accepted the terms and conditions in a pop-up when using the app. Now, understand, they can still pursue a legal remedy against Uber. They simply have to arbitrate it rather than try it in court.
What's the difference between arbitration and a trial?
The couple are from New Jersey. They were riding in an Uber vehicle when it crashed in March of 22, and the wife was left in critical care for a week with a spine fracture and traumatic injuries. However, when they attempted to sue the company, state judges ruled they had clicked a confirm button on more than one occasion when asked if they agreed with the terms that Uber was offering them. Speaking to the BBC, the couple said that the most recent time the terms had been agreed to was when their 12-year-old daughter had ordered a pizza on Uber Eats. But apparently, they'd clicked on more than one. So this meant that they were unable to bring their case to a jury because they'd...
It should be on the driver of the Uber vehicle to be insured and have, isn't there like specific insurance for, people who like taxi drivers and shit like that? See, this is the problem with not being a taxi driver. Because isn't there taxi insurance?
Forfeited that right, and of course your right to a jury is guaranteed you under the 7th Amendment of the Constitution. The wife says, how would I ever remotely think that my ability to protect my constitutional rights to a trial would be waived by me ordering food? Speaking of the injuries, she said that she suffered a horrible post-operative infection and almost died and was unable to look after her child. Her husband fractured his sternum and still doesn't have full function of his left hand. He says he's in pain every day. As a result, they've accumulated a tremendous amount of medical debt and required further treatments, including a possible 3rd operation for the wife. However, Uber had argued that the couple could not take the case to court as they had agreed to the clause in their terms of use. A New Jersey Supreme Court ruling says, we hold that the arbitration provision contained in the agreement under review, which the mother or her minor daughter, while using her cell phone, agreed to, is valid and enforceable.
So the arbitration clause meaning you have to go through arbitration instead of going through a jury trial.
Referring to her daughter's use of Uber Eats, the mother argued she didn't know how it can be right that she is considered to have authorized my child to waive.
Funny part is in Canada, your insurance can choose to invalidate your coverage for doing Uber. Really? Interesting. Nope, not in the US and not through Uber. Jeez, that's the problem with being
Our rights to go to trial if we're injured in a car accident. I don't know how anybody makes that leap. Case has drawn parallels to the controversy surrounding Disney after they attempted to avoid being sued, saying that their arbitration clause in their Disney Plus membership protected them against claims brought by people who visited one of their properties.
Which I don't agree with. Using a streaming service agreement for what happens on your park property is just slimy.
In that case, a husband had filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the company after his wife died following an allergic reaction at a restaurant at Disney World in 2023. Disney said he'd waived his right to a jury trial when signing up for a free trial of their streaming platform 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's tons of media coverage, including I did a video or two on it, and they then decided to agree to a trial with a jury.
And he got only $50,000.
Now, this case, I've seen a couple different versions of the story, and there's Uber Eats and there's the Uber car service. And apparently, those are two different apps. Okay, yes. And they say, look, our daughter clicked the Uber Eats button. And someplace else I saw that the argument was that they had also clicked on it. But the point simply is, when you are loading an app into your phone and you're firing it up and it says, do you agree to these terms of service? Nobody reads those.
No.
But it's...
Nobody reads those because they're 60,000 pages long. Trying to read those agreements with voiceover turned on is awful.
Turns out there's actually important stuff in there that would be helpful if you knew that. The question is, would you use Uber if you knew that if that vehicle gets in an accident and you become severely injured as a result, you can't sue them, you can only arbitrate against them. And one thing you need to know is that arbitration is not an absolute loss for the plaintiff. A lot of people think it is, but it's not. I'm not saying it's as good as going to court. I don't think it is, simply because arbitration often has a streamlined process and streamlined rules. And likewise, there's other things that affect it, such as they'll often say you cannot appeal the arbitration and leave it to where unless there's corruption, like unless you can prove the other side bribed the arbitrator, there's not much you can do about it. And I've mentioned before that I have had arbitrators come back with rulings both in my client's favor and against my client that were contrary to the law. And I've actually had arbitrators say, well, I'm not required to follow the law. I'm here to arbitrate a claim, which means that I simply resolve this dispute how I see fit.
But isn't an arbitrator... that is not good. That's... I don't like that at all.
And that's strange But also, quite often, the corporations that put these arbitration agreements into these documents, in these agreements, quite often they'll say, and we get to pick the arbitrator. And that's one I want to talk about, because I had a case once where my client bought a product that had a very, very complicated warranty setup. Let's just put it that way. And there was all these documents and warranty booklets and manuals, and buried deep in one of them was an arbitration agreement. Now, my client never signed it because it was buried so deep in these other documents, but he did sign a document saying, I agree that I've gotten all these documents from the seller. So
okay, but that's agreeing that you've received the documents. That's not agreeing that you've agreed to the documents.
He said he got the documents, therefore he agreed to the arbitration agreement. And we got this big argument in front of a judge once, and I talked to my client about this in advance. And I told my client, I said, look, judges tend to push things into arbitration if they can, because it gets it off their docket. So I said, Your Honor, the problem I've got with this arbitration, among other things, is they get to pick the arbitrator, the rules, all that stuff. I think that's unfair. And the judge goes, well, it does seem a little odd, but do you have a solution? I said, yeah. Let's just arbitrate the claim, but let the two of us pick an arbitrator.
Yeah.
And my opponent goes, oh, that would never work. And I go, why not? Why not? And the judge goes, what are you suggesting, Mr. Leto? I said, well, Your Honor, I go, you've been around for a while, and he had been on the bench for quite some time. I said, you must know some retired judges. And he goes, yes, I do. I go, why don't you give us a list of 3 retired judges? I get to strike one, she gets to strike one, the leftover judge arbitrates our case.
There you go. That sounds perfectly reasonable, perfectly fair, perfectly logical.
Steve's primary area was lemon law and automotive law.
Steve's primary area of law is limo law and automotive law. Lemon law and automotive law. Ah.
Judge looks to the other side and goes, what do you think about that? I like that idea. And my opponent's like, well, Your Honor, I have to talk to my client. Do you want to go out in the hall and call your client? And 10 minutes later, we put it on the record that we'd agree to arbitrate the case by doing what I just suggested. And it was the best arbitration result I've ever achieved. And now, I'm not saying that, anything magical happened. My client had a good case and could have got the exact same result from a jury. May have gotten more, may have gotten less, may have gotten the exact same thing. We don't know. Mm-hmm. But the point simply is that to try to level the playing field, I said, let's go with an arbitrator that you guys didn't handpick. And they didn't like that idea, but the judge did. And so I've had it happen more than once where we're in a situation trying to resolve something. And I know the judge will agree with me if I throw an idea out, especially if I involve the judge and go, hey, you must know 3 retired judges. I didn't say, hey, the two of us will come up with an arbitrator.
Yeah, I want this arbitrator, and they can't pick this arbitrator. That he was like, what do you suggest?
I said, no, Your Honor,
that idea.
Why don't you give us the arbitrator? That way we know it's fair. And I remember getting the list of arbitrators, and I did a little bit of research to find out, if I had to pick among the 3, which is the one I would get rid of. But other than that, had a very good arbitration. And I remember my client afterwards, because my client testified at the arbitration, afterwards going, that wasn't that bad. And it did happen more quickly and took less time than trying a full case. But like I said before, there's inherent problems with arbitration. And the biggest problem I've got is if they're allowed to pick the arbitrator and the rules and the forum and all that.
It's all going to be in their favor.
The odds are against you. Ooh. Okay? So they can arbitrate their claim.
That was a fun sound.
Their attorneys, most likely, can help them arbitrate the claim. And it's just simply, instead of being in a court, it'll be in an arbitration venue. But, like I said, no appeal. Oftentimes the rules of evidence go out the window. There might not be any discovery, which is extremely important because the other side quite often has all kinds of evidence that you need to get your hands on. And a lot of times they won't have things like that. So there can be problems. But as it is right now, this couple cannot pursue this in court. There's not going to be a jury trial here. At best, they're going to have an arbitration, or they can settle the case. But the thinking of the corporation is that an arbitrator is less likely to throw money at somebody because they're hurt. They think an arbitrator is going to be more even-handed and cool-headed about that. So From the independent.co.uk, Holly Evans wrote that couple left with life-changing crash injuries can't sue Uber after agreeing to terms while ordering a pizza. That's the argument. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Leto's Law. A programmer is someone who solves a problem you didn't know you had in a way you don't understand.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong at all. Oh. Well, I think I'm going to do a quick be right back, grab a quick drink, and we will jump into our political stuff. So I shall return in a quick moment. Okay. Here we go. So first, we're gonna jump into our American political video titled Darth Kamala. MSNBC compares Democrats to Star Wars villains. Because why the hell wouldn't you, right? Oh my god. Why do we have to do this? Why does this have to be a thing? Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look here.
It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. We can't afford 4 more years of this.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
This is Kamala Harris, the Democrat presidential nominee, and until recently, the most unpopular vice president in United States history.
Interesting news. Recent focus groups conducted by the Super PAC Republican voters against Trump found that swing voters don't like Harris. And focus groups conducted by the Democratic National Committee also found Harris rubs some people the wrong way.
Because she's just weird. She rambles. She acts like she just says the weirdest shit. It's very, very strange.
So, Jonah, how big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
I think she's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision of his presidency to pick her in the first place.
It's not just focus groups that are down on Harris right now. In a recent poll, national poll, 40% approved of the vice president's job performance, while 55% disapproved.
But now, with less than 6 weeks to go before the election, Kamala Harris has miraculously turned those numbers around.
How? How did that happen?
The View, the overall perception of Kamala Harris. Remember, before she got in the race, a lot of talk that, her numbers didn't look better than Biden's. She was 32 positive, 50 negative before getting in this race. And now this is what you see. I mean, we were seeing numbers like this for years for Kamala Harris.
And we've seen low approval numbers for Kamala Harris even before she became vice president. And for good reason. Take, for example, this exchange during Kamala's first Democrat presidential debate.
And I will say also that in this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
But I don't believe you're a racist, but I just want to highlight the fact that you have supported two very racist people.
And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Oh, please. Oh, please. Spare me. Just spare me.
But within minutes of that exchange, the Kamala Harris campaign started selling "That Little Girl Was Me" t-shirts. In other words, it was a pre-planned attack against Joe Biden. The Kamala Harris campaign started selling "That Little Girl Was Me" t-shirts.
Wow.
In other words, it was a pre-planned attack against Joe Biden. Kamala wanted to imply that Biden was a racist and even claimed that what he said was hurtful and personal. But of course, we all know now that it was all bullshit.
How do you go from being such a passionate opponent on such bedrock principles for you, and now you guys seem to be pals?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. But hey, it's all good to be pally-pally when you get to steal the nomination out from under him, right?
It was a debate. It was a debate.
Why is she cackling like that? That's so weird. It was a debate.
Debate. It was a debate.
So you don't mean it?
It was a debate. That the whole reason, literally, it was a debate. It was called a debate.
I understand.
Traveled to the debate.
Here, let me take a sip. She said debate like 8 times.
There were journalists there covering the debate where there would be a debate of differences of opinion and issues.
Wow, can't wait for 8 years of that. So, what happened exactly? How did cackling Kamala go from being the most unpopular vice president in American history to become the leader of the Democrat Party? Well, according to Ari Melber at MSNBC, it's because she was finally allowed to be her true self.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Being the nominee and the party leader taking on Donald Trump is different from being a deferential, deliberately smaller, quieter role of understudy or vice president to the president. And by playing that role well, many experts say Harris had to dim her shine. And that's literally the term that some historians and strategists use. In political struggles, you never outshine the master. Always make those above you feel completely superior. and your desire to please and impress them do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, inspiring fear and insecurity in them. Make your masters appear more brilliant than they are, and you will attain the heights of power.
So according to the laws of power, Kamala Harris, she wasn't allowed to show how amazingly talented she was, because otherwise she would have made her master, Joe Biden,
look horrible. I can't believe they're using the word master in this context. Right? Like, is anybody not noticing that MSNBC is using the word master in this context? Like, this is uncomfortable.
Bad. Got it. But then Ari Melber made the following comparison.
And if it all sounds familiar, it is a tale and fable as old as time.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
A fable? A tale and fable as old as time. Star Wars is not a fucking fable.
Wait, what he's saying is that Kamala Harris is Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith. But wait, there's more.
Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice.
Now he's comparing Joe Biden to Emperor Palpatine, makes sense, and Kamala Harris to Darth Maul.
What the fuck? What the I'm very glad I did not take that sip of wine, because oh my god, that would have been disastrous.
Comparing Democrats to Star Wars villains. Well played, Ari Melber. Well played. Next, Joe Biden was hosting the leaders of Australia, India, and Japan in Delaware for some reason. White House press secretary and
gotta be closer to home nowadays, because, you know, he gets tired easily.
Historical figure Karine Jean-Pierre told the press the very important reason for holding it there.
It is important to him inviting them to Wilmington, his home state, his home city, his home state, obviously Delaware. It was important for him to have these personal touches. It was important to him to do something that he hadn't done before. He's going to take them to his high school.
What?
Giving them opportunities to see his high school, right? Places where that he's very much connected to, that you all will see.
Is this because this is all he can remember now? Is his high school? Like, he's getting to the point now where if he leaves familiar places, he's lost, you know, his ability to have conversation and figure out, you know, the context of where he is? Is that what we're going with?
Joe Biden is treating world leaders like the college girlfriend you bring back to your hometown for the holidays. Want to see where I went to school? Wow, I remember it being so much bigger. Want to sign my yearbook? How embarrassing.
That is so sad. But I honestly think it's because he's starting to forget, and if he goes outside of familiar places, he'll be lost.
But not as embarrassing as this unhinged moment.
So I want to thank you all for being here, and now who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Who am I introducing next?
Who's next?
Holy crap. I do not know who's running the country, but it is not Joe Biden.
That was painful. More painful than that popping noise that my hip just did. That was painful to listen to. My God, that was just... That was just cringy.
Days later, Joe Biden spent a couple of days in New York City and forgot where the hell he was.
Welcome to Washington.
Ha!
Then Joe Biden's handlers thought it would be a great idea for him to go on The View and let him talk about Kamala Harris.
Oh boy, this should be funny.
This turned out to be an in-kind contribution to the Trump campaign.
She is smart as hell, number one. She's tough. As vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
In other words, Joe Biden is admitting that all of his failures over the last 3.5 years also belong to Kamala Harris. One gets the feeling that he's so bitter about being forced to retire from politics that he's attempting to sabotage her campaign.
That's kind of what it looks like. Honestly, it looks like he's pissed off that he has to step aside, so he's just doing this shit.
Not that VP Kamala is doing herself any favors.
The American economy is the most powerful force for innovation and wealth creation in human history. We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Anyway, despite being the Democrat nominee for 2 months, Kamala Harris has only had one solo sit-down interview with a major news organization.
That's it?
And a couple days ago, Stephanie Ruhle asked Kamala how she would pay for things like a $50,000 tax credit for small business owners or a $25,000 mortgage assistance down payment thing for first-time buyers.
Another good question. Where's all the money for this supposed to come from?
If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to raise. We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's
okay, but what if you don't? What if you can't? What if this, like she just said, what if the GOP takes control of the Senate?
just it.
So the question was, what if you can't raise corporate taxes? And Kamala's answer was, we have to raise corporate taxes. Kamala Harris is not a serious person.
It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success.
Yeah, you are.
But everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
But that's not... How is that true? Like, empirically, how is that true?
No, they don't. The median annual income for firefighters is $59,606. Their effective federal tax rate is 9.02%. The median pay for a high school teacher is $69,544. Their effective federal tax rate is 10.87%. And what about the top 1%? Well, according to an analysis of IRS data by the Tax Foundation, the top 1% of taxpayers paid a 25.9% average tax rate.
Shit.
And for the record, in 2021, the United States government brought in nearly $2.2 trillion in federal income tax revenue.
Gee, it's almost like they're making plenty of money from taxes.
The top 1% paid more than $1 trillion in federal income taxes. That's 45.8% of all federal income tax collected. Sounds like they're already paying their fair share, but whatever.
Oh,
but what about Stephanie Ruhle? Was she annoyed that Kamala couldn't/wouldn't answer her questions?
Of course not.
She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from? To expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it.
Yes.
She actually was perfectly reasonable. And listen, there's some things she's not giving you a direct answer on because she's a politician.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's a politician you don't want. You should be like, hey, this is refreshing. A politician that actually answers questions. Not, it's okay that she didn't answer the question because she's a politician. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. I can't believe that was actually said. What a pushover. Seriously, what a pushover. It's okay, she didn't answer the questions. She's a politician. Are you guys ready to get even more mad? Because it's time for question period. That's why I poured out the wine. So here we go. We're going to start with our question period, and we're going to see what's going on here today. And I think Mr. Trudeau might be back in the House of Commons. But we'll see.
Oral questions. Questions
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this Liberal bloc, they have doubled the debt, increased taxes. After these 9 years, seniors are struggling to pay the bills. Record numbers of seniors have to go to food banks to eat. They're struggling to pay rent since the cost of housing has doubled. Their children and grandchildren can't buy a home like they would have been able to in other times.
This is true. Like, whenever it comes time for my grandparents' house to get sold, that capital gains tax on that house is going to be insane.
Will the government accept our common sense plan? We want to fix the budget and axe the tax so that our seniors can pay their bills with dignity. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Oh, of course. He's not there. He's not there. No, normally you don't see a woman simping, let alone simping for a woman. No shit, that was totally simping on Stephanie Roll's part.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Seniors in Canada. Remember very well what Conservative policy for seniors were.
What Conservative
They remember
for seniors were.
That in Davos, Prime Minister Harper announced that he would increase the retirement age from 65 to 67. As for grandchildren, seniors support our national daycare program for their grandchildren. We will work for them and for their grandchildren. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois leader keeps picking fights and squabbling with the government of Quebec. Instead, he should be defending the nation of Quebec. But rather than doing so, he says he's happy that the forestry sector is under threat. Quebec's Environment Minister said the opposite, though. He said, I would like the Bloc Québécois to defend us more strongly than they are currently. Will the Prime Minister listen to those who really truly have common sense and permanently reverse this decree? The Honourable Public Services and Procurement Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative leader talks about squabbles. Well, he's picked a fight with each and every single municipality in Quebec.
No, he has not. Oh, stop
He's called mayors incompetent. Will he finally apologize for calling municipalities, their employees, incompetent? When he was Minister of Housing, he built a grand total of 6 housing units.
He only built 6 affordable housing units, blah, blah, blah.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. I would ask you to please leave the floor to those who are recognized by the chair.
Oh, shit. We're 2 minutes in and we've already had a direct call out.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Carbon tax Carney became conflict of interest Carney when the Prime Minister named him to be effectively the Phantom Finance Minister to advise on economic policy while he presides over a massive multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation that sought 10 billion Canadian tax dollars to take over our pension system.
10 billion? 10 billion. Holy shit.
He's got a $2 billion loan for a friend, and now we learn that the Economic Task Force he heads up has only one person. Isn't he a walking, talking conflict of interest?
Yeah. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are glad to get economic advice from smart former Canadian central bankers.
Why does she always say that they're glad? They're glad to talk about the economy. They're glad to talk about housing. They're glad to get advice.
Like Mark Carney and like Steve Pelosi, who is doing some great work advising us on how to encourage Canadian pension funds to invest more in Canada. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, on that side of the House, they get their foreign policy advice from Elon Musk and from Tucker Carlson.
Because that's totally true. I say with huge sarcasm in my voice.
They should be ashamed of themselves. The people of Ukraine certainly know what's going on.
What the fuck? The people... What? Wait. Where did Ukraine come in? The people of Ukraine certainly know what's going on. Where did the... Nobody was talking about Ukraine right now, dude.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, today the Premier, Mr. Speaker, today the very courageous and common sense Premier of New Brunswick launched a renewed lawsuit against the quadrupling carbon tax. He's pointing out that this carbon tax will force the layoff of nurses, doctors, and teachers because of the extra cost it imposes on operating schools and hospitals.
Because it will cost money to heat and produce cleaning services. It will produce just the laundry services for the hospitals, those blanket warmers, the heating of the schools.
Instead of requiring courts to decide on the quadrupling carbon tax, why won't the Prime Minister let the people decide in a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
I am so glad that the Leader of the Opposition...
She's glad again. I need to take a sip.
Minister and Minister of Finance.
I am so glad that the Leader of the Opposition gives me an opportunity to talk about the price on pollution, because we made a great announcement just a few minutes ago, and that is that small businesses in the province of New Brunswick that he was talking about that have 499 employees are going to get...
That's not a small business. 499 employees.
Talking about that have 499 employees are going to get rebates of $43,413. In the province of Ontario that we both represent, a business of 499 employees can get a rebate of nearly $300,000.
That's a medium-sized business. That is not a small business. A small business is like 10 employees. 20 employees. That's a small business. Of 499 employees, that is not, I would not consider that a small, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what a small business is, but that sounds more like a medium-sized company at that point. That seems like it's getting close to a corporation.
They're going to get that money directly in their bank accounts by the end of the year.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Almost a year ago today, Tehran-backed terrorists unleashed the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Ever since, they've continued to push this genocidal aim.
Yep.
Today, hundreds of rockets came from Tehran towards Israel, forcing millions into shelter. 2 terrorist attacks carried out. This Prime Minister has talked out of both sides of his mouth, saying one thing to one group, the opposite to another.
Yep.
Will the Prime Minister state clearly that Israel has the right to defend itself by defeating Hezbollah, Hamas, the IRGC, and all the other terrorists?
No. No, he won't. Because then he'll have to stand up and say that that the Palestinians, yeah, he'll have to say something else that he won't want to
say. The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we all seen the attacks by Iran against Israel today, and of course we condemn them unequivocally. These attacks
400 ballistic missiles. Oh. Iron Dome missed a few. Oh no, my phone died.
from Iran will only serve to further escalate the region, and therefore that is why I've been in contact with my Israeli counterpart this morning, and I've been in contact with many...
To do what? What did you do, Jolie? What did you tell him? Don't fire those... Don't intercept those missiles? Let them hit you?
7 foreign ministers as well as Arab countries' foreign ministers. This is a very dangerous time for the Middle East, and we need to make sure that this war stops. Thank you.
And ask the honourable member from St. Albert, Edmonton, please, to only take the floor when he is recognized to do so. L'honorable député de La Prairie.
The honourable member for La Prairie. If the Liberals don't want an election now, then they have to support all seniors equally and fairly. That's why seniors advocacy groups are here today on the Hill. The FADOC and its Mauricie branch, the AQDR, the Outaouais AQRP and AREQ, the Table de Concertation des Aînés des Laurentides, they're all here today to ask the federal government to stop having two classes of seniors. They're here to demand a 10% increase in OAS for those 74 and under. Yeah. Will the government finally listen to them? The Honourable Minister of Labour and Seniors. Mr. Speaker, we're shocked by what the Bloc Québécois is saying.
We are shocked.
Because what did they vote against? They voted against dental care, which is currently saving hundreds of dollars for hundreds of thousands of Quebecers and Canadians. We're shocked that the Bloc Québécois voted against the guaranteed income supplement and its increase. The GIS helps the least well-off seniors, Mr. Speaker. The Bloc Québécois is so hypocritical, and we are shocked. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. It is the International Day of Older Persons today. So suffice it to say that today's not the best day to avoid answering seniors' questions about OAS, especially not when seniors' representatives are here watching us. So we're going to give the Liberals another chance. They have until October 29th to stop depriving people aged 74 and under of 10% of their OAS. International Seniors Day would be the best possible day to announce that the Liberals are finally going to do it. So, will the Liberals give royal recommendation to C-319? Yes or no?
That's a negative, Ghost Rider.
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Seniors. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would like to wish everyone happy International Seniors Day, especially representatives of the Outaouais Rec.
Yes, because they want you to kiss their ass. That's what they want. It's not like they want questions answered or anything. They want you to kiss their ass.
Mr. Speaker, the member for La Prairie rises daily but doesn't seem to remember that when it came time to vote to increase, that is, to decrease the retirement age to 65, what did the
They had a Freudian slip.
Member for La Prairie do? He, in fact, voted against it. He wanted to keep the retirement age...
From Nunavut.
Another injustice, another day in court for the Liberals. 2 Ontario First Nations are suing this government for their discriminatory underfunding of fire services in their communities. With climate change and aging infrastructure, First Nations are at higher risks. Instead of wasting more time in court, will the Liberals stop the discrimination against First Nations, truly commit to reconciliation, and deliver the funding needed to save lives?
No,
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is right. We all have to do more to protect the lives of Indigenous people, in particular First Nations children, who are many times more likely to die in a house fire than their non-Indigenous counterparts. And that's
well, maybe if you didn't keep them in shitty infrastructure and shitty places to live.
That's why, Mr. Speaker, we've invested over $136 million for First Nations self-determined projects to reduce the risks of fire, including making homes safer and ensuring equipment is available and working.
The Honourable Member from Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Indigenous people have a right to culturally informed community health care when they need it. But because of failed healthcare policies under the Liberal and Conservative governments, nearly 10 years since the release of the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission,
Jesus Christ, it's been 10 years. And you know what's crazy? Trudeau's Liberals made that report happen. They called for that report to happen before they took office, and then they still haven't done anything with it.
Care gaps for Indigenous people have widened. So, Mr. Speaker, why won't the Prime Minister listen to Indigenous experts and leadership and design a healthcare system that ensures access to this basic human right?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, that's exactly what this government has done. In fact, with the renewed health transfers, separate money, $2 billion dedicated to First Nations leaders who are working on health transformation, self-determined healthcare services across this country. And on top of that, Mr. Speaker, another 10 years of funding for the First Nations Health Authority to continue to plan and deliver health services for First Nations people in BC. We will get this work done together, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to quote one of the world's most credible news organization on financial and economic matters. Okay. The Financial Times of London, May 10th, 2024. The headline: Breakdown nations like Canada have a lesson for the world. Canada leads nations which have suffered a sharp decline in per capita GDP. Simple question. Does the government agree that Canada leads nations that have suffered a sharp decline in per capita GDP?
Wow. That is damning and hard and ow. That is hard to hear. Fuck.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
What the government agrees with is that Canada was the first G7 country to lower interest rates for the first time. Canada was the first G7 country to lower interest rates for a second time. And Canada was the first G7 country to lower interest rates for a third time.
They're asking about per capita GDP.
In Canada have outpaced inflation for 19 months in a row. And meanwhile, inflation, 2% in August, has been within the Bank of Canada's target range.
Again, I'm going to invite members, please, not to take the floor unless they're being invited to by the chair.
I bet you that was a Liberal or an NDP.
The Honourable Member from Halton Hills, Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Canada has become the first central bank to cut rates because Canada has become the first leading economy to go through an economic contraction. Yep. Again, the Financial Times, for which the finance minister once worked, it said, quote, Canada's per capita gross domestic product has been shrinking 0.4% a year since 2020.
That's apparently what qualifies her to be a finance minister, is that she worked at the Financial Times.
The worst rate for any developed economy in the top 50. Does the government agree that Canada's per capita GDP is shrinking at the worst rate of any of the top 50 economies?
Yeah. No, of course it doesn't.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our government knows that what matters to Canadians is inflation. And that is why it is so important that inflation was 2% in August and that it has been within the Bank of Canada's target range all of this year.
Wow.
And it is because of that
That's
progress
all you can
that
say?
interest rates in Canada have come down 3 times. That is real
That
relief to
doesn't have
homeowners.
anything to do
That
with
is
per
real
capita
relief to
GDP.
businesses. That is
I'm
real
no
relief to anyone
economist,
who
and
wants
I
to
know
buy a
that.
home. But all the Conservatives know how to do is talk Canada down.
That's right. Pointing out that our economy has gone to shit is not talking Canada down.
And ask the honourable member from Dufferin-Caledon, please, to hold his time until he has the floor, which he often does during question period. The honourable member from Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, the government loves to tout its economic record, but the results are simply underwhelming. Canada has the worst housing inflation among its peers, the worst performance in per capita income among the G7, gross fixed capital formation has not increased in a decade, and R&D spending as a percent of GDP is at its lowest point in 20 years. It's no wonder why young Canadians and businesses are packing up in search of better economic opportunities and higher standards of living. When will the government admit that its economic policies are putting the future of Canada at risk?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
You know, Mr. Speaker, what I find so interesting about these Conservatives is the only thing...
These Conservatives. Just these ones. Jesus Christ. That sounds like French. Who keeps saying that? That sounds like French? I don't know. I'm not sure. He won't shut the fuck up.
They know how to do is talk Canada down. A couple of months ago, the only thing they wanted to talk about was inflation. But guess what? We have good news on inflation. And with that good news on inflation comes good news on interest rates. On this side of the House, we celebrate good news for Canada and Canadians. On that side of the House, all they want to do is break things and cut.
Break things? This isn't a Limp Bizkit song, dude.
The honourable member from Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not surprised the minister is not persuaded by my comments, but perhaps you might listen to economist Trevor Tombe, who said if Canada had simply kept pace with the U.S. over the past 2 years, our economy would be 8.5% larger. That's $6,200 per person richer we would be. Wow. Trevor Tombe says that is an incentive for Canadians and businesses to move south of the border in search of greater economic opportunities and higher standards of living.
That's why doctors are leaving. That's why nurses are leaving. That's why, like, tons and tons and tons of businesses are leaving.
Mr. Speaker, when the Deputy Prime Minister says that her economic plan is working, is this what she means?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Oh my God,
Mr. Speaker, we're even better than that, Mr. Speaker. We've attracted $60 billion of investment in this country, Mr. Speaker. Even Bloomberg put Canada ahead of China.
$60 billion of investment over 9 years? That's not that much.
For the battery ecosystem in this country, Mr. Speaker. We have the talent, we have the ecosystem, we have the critical mineral, we have the renewable energy, we have the access to market. Let's talk about possibility, let's talk about opportunities, let's talk about Canada of the 21st century.
Just like when the Liberals caused all this shit in the 90s. Yup.
Colleagues, as we know, question period is of a limited time. I've been reminded that many times. I've allowed it to go on, but if we have to interrupt all the time, we might get to the point where we might need to end a question due to a little heckling. So I'll ask the honourable members to please not do so.
End a question due to heckling?
The honourable has G7 money extinction has sold to cover
J'invite l'honorable député de la Prairie.
Pensions by raising taxes again and again.
J'invite l'honorable député de la Prairie.
I ask the honourable member for La Prairie to not speak before being recognized. The Honourable Minister of Innovation, Science and Leadership, which we want to build 9th as a seniors RC check against Mr. The Honourable care. If and say Canada and in Quebec in your question.
Juste un instant, madame.
Just a moment, please.
Juste pour vous rappeler, je suis très content de reconnaître l'honorable député.
I'm very happy to recognize the honourable member for Shefford for a third time, but I would encourage her to not speak before recognized by the chair.
Ha 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 ha! You just got owned by the speaker.
The honourable member for Shefford. Today is International Day of Older Persons, and on this stage,
oh my God, all the French people.
Liz.
Interest
from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
In the latest conflict of interest from a government of serial ethical lawbreakers, the Prime Minister wants his buddy Mark Carbon Tax Carney's company to be in charge of $10 billion of Canadians' pension dollars. Now, he doesn't want him to be subjected to any of the conflict of interest rules. All the power, all the money, none of the accountability. After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up for Carbon Tax Carney and this Prime Minister. Why don't they just call a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another week, another tired line from the Conservatives. When it comes to Canadians who disagree with their vision of the country, instead of allowing for that disagreement to happen, they attack them personally and try to bring them down. We have seen this time and time again from Conservatives, whether it's the news media like CBC or CTV, or whether it's eminent Canadians who give of themselves. The Conservatives only have one objective, and that's to tear down Canadians who don't share their beliefs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good answer. Oh my God. You're so smart.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
It's no surprise that that member wants to deflect from her Prime Minister, who was twice found guilty of breaking ethics laws himself, and that's why he's trying to protect his buddy Carbon Tax Carney from the ethical rules that would, of course, call into question this $10 billion of Canadians' pensions that they want to let him get his hands on in exchange for what? Advice that he's going to give them from Bay Street that everyone on Main Street can just eat cake when they can't afford any more of his rising carbon tax. It's
true,
been
though.
9 years.
They are pulling the whole, like, let them just eat cake stuff. It's absolutely factual that that's what's going on.
Years of their failed NDP Liberal policies. Canadians are out of money. They're out of time. When can we have an election?
Before the Honourable Minister takes her spot, I did hear a comment out of turn. I think it was from a minister. I couldn't figure out who it is, but I'll ask members to please, again, don't take the floor unless recognized by the chair.
See, he's calling out Conservative members by name, by their riding. But anytime a Liberal's doing it, he's like, members, I don't know who you are, but members, please stop.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, what we see from the Conservative members of Parliament is that they just can't handle being criticized. It's the same way they treat the media. When the media ask them tough questions about what they are putting forward in terms of their agenda for Canadians, what do? They attack them. This is what they do with the media. This is what they do with eminent Canadians. This is what they do with any Canadian who doesn't share the vision for Canada. Mr. Speaker, we should be talking up Canada. We should be talking up Canadians instead of talking them down like the Conservatives.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah, good answer. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's what she sounds like. She sounds like the head cheerleader that patronizes the new girl that's joining the team and isn't quite as coordinated, and she's like, oh my God, you actually landed that trick. Oh, good job. I'm so proud of you. You've been working so hard. And then she turns around to her other friends. Oh my God, did you see that stupid girl? Like, look at how she landed that move. Oh my God. That is Chrystia Freeland.
The honourable member from Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, first the Liberals announced that Mark Carney, the chair of Brookfield, a trillion-dollar corporation whose interests span the entire federal government, would be setting Canada's economic policy. Then news broke that Brookfield had been lobbying for a federally funded multi-billion-dollar investment fund that they would manage. Then, over this past weekend, Mark Carney sent out a fundraising email blast via the Liberal Party's donation list. Interesting. Did the Liberals or Brookfield clear any of this with the lobbying commissioner?
The honourable leader of the government in the House.
Did he laugh?
The honourable leader of
He
the government
did.
in the House.
He laughed. Oh my God. He laughed.
Again, Mr. Speaker, what we see from the Conservatives is when there are Canadians that don't share their vision of Canada, they tone them down. They try.
Invite the honourable minister to start again, but I'm going to ask members, please, again, do not take the floor until they're recognized by the chair. The honourable leader of the government from the House of Commons from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's okay. I understand this response makes them uncomfortable because they know it's true, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to Canadians who don't share their vision of Canada, what do Conservative members of Parliament do? They talk them down. They try to bring them down. They don't like having people push against their agenda. They don't like it when they're asked tough questions, or when smart, intelligent people don't share their vision of Canada, they try to take them down instead of having that debate. Thank you.
That's right. Good answer.
That's right. That's right. Oh, good girl. Good answer.
The honourable member from Calgary Nose Hill.
Grifols, a big pharma company, recently gained approval from Canadian Blood Services, which is regulated by the Liberal government, to acquire Canadian Plasma Resources, a critical source of blood products for Canadians. But this summer, reports said that under this contract, Canadian blood plasma products could be sold abroad for profit by Grifols, something that could jeopardize supply in Canada. Guess which company?
I think we should be allowed to sell plasma.
No, that's not what I'm laughing at. Did you not catch what she said?
I caught that she...
No, back up to Karina Gould's bullshit for a second there.
Gained approval from Canadian...
The government?
She sits there and says, when they attack smart, intelligent people.
Require Canadian plasma from
Canada. They're asked having people push...
I did. She was trying to talk about herself and Chrystia Freeland.
And by the way, eminent Canadians
Yeah.
is when they attack prominent or notable Canadians.
Yeah.
So yeah, Weston.
Yes.
Their boyfriend.
Against their agenda. They don't like it when they're asked tough questions, or when smart, intelligent people don't share their vision of Canada.
Smart, intelligent people, like, that's what it sounds like. She's talking about herself and Chrystia Freeland.
The honourable member from Calgary Nose Hill.
Grifols, a big pharma company, recently gained approval from Canadian Blood Services, which is regulated by the Liberal government, to acquire Canadian Plasma Resources, a critical source of blood products for Canadians. But this summer, reports said that under this contract, Canadian blood plasma products could be sold abroad for profit by Grifols, something that could jeopardize supply in Canada. Guess which company has been in takeover talks with Grifols this whole time?
Mark Carney's company.
Brookfield. Guess which company has been in takeover talks with Grifols this whole time? Brookfield. Is that why the Liberals didn't clear Carney with the lobbying commissioner?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. I guessed right. You.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is known everywhere in the world as being absolutely one of the best jurisdictions.
Mute for a second.
Okay. Hold on. Where's the mute?
jurisdictions to manage plugs in the world. Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, Canada is known everywhere in the world as being absolutely one of the best jurisdictions to manage plug supply, and that is something that we are absolutely committed to continuing. I think that casting aspersions and trying to manufacture things is something we're used to on the other side, but that reputation that we've won hard-earned to make sure that when Canadians need blood that it's there for them and it's there for them safely is something that we're going to
there have been a lot of Canadian Blood Services scandals over the years. I don't know.
Sure that when Canadians need blood that it's there for them and it's there for them safely is something we're going to continue unabated to be committed to.
And ask the honourable member from St. Margaret's South Shore, please, to he's been keeping his voice down, but it's been regular, so I'm just going to ask him to please not do that.
Look,
The honourable member
from another Conservative guy.
Lady Smith, Nanaimo Lady Smith.
Mr. Speaker, residential school survivors and their families deserve answers. We know that truth comes before healing. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls on all levels of government and churches to hand over all records. But survivors still face barriers, missing records, delays, and disappointments. Why is this government failing to give survivors and their families access to the truth?
The Honourable Minister for Crown Indigenous Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for
Why
a very...
are there two ministries for Indigenous? There's Crown Indigenous Relations, and then there's Indigenous Services. Why are there two files? Why not just lump Crown and Indigenous Services into Crown and Indigenous Services?
Important question, and let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and the many commemorations that took place across this country. From 2015, when the Truth and Reconciliation Report calls to action came in to government, we've been working towards enacting all the 94 calls to action. We will continue to work with survivors in order to ensure that there's truth, justice, and accountability, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The honourable member from Edmonton, Griesbach.
The housing crisis in Edmonton rages on, and Indigenous people are disproportionately impacted. Latest reports show that Edmonton's homeless population has jumped by 1,300 people since the start of the year. To make matters worse, last winter's amputations due to frostbite skyrocketed by 162%.
Holy crap. 162% increase due to frostbite amputations in one city. That is insane. That is astronomical.
With colder temperatures approaching, people are going to lose limbs or die. Will the Liberals continue to stand by and watch alongside Danielle Smith, or will they finally build the homes people in Edmonton desperately need?
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, after a decade of nothing happening under the previous Conservative government, we launched the National Housing Strategy. And, Mr. Speaker, we've been working with communities.
And after a decade of you guys launching the Truth and Reconciliation Report, you guys have done nothing.
Nations leaders with Indigenous organizations to ensure that people have access to the kinds of housing that they need. We're not going to stop, Mr. Speaker, until every person in this country knows that there is someplace they can turn as winter approaches.
You know, it would be great if every person in this country knew that they had a home when winter approached. But, you know, that's just a crazy wish for thinking, right? You shouldn't want you to know that you have shelter and stability. No, that's just crazy.
The honourable member from Winnipeg South Centre.
Mr. Speaker, September 30th marks one of the most important days in the Canadian calendar.
For generations, Indigenous peoples had to conceal their cultures, languages, and true identities. The results, both past and present, led to the devastating consequences faced by families and communities and gave way to intergenerational trauma, the impacts of which is still felt immensely in our country today. Yesterday, communities across Canada came together to honor survivors and their relatives and commit to doing our part on this journey towards truth and reconciliation. I asked the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations to share his reflections with the House on the importance of this day and the work ahead. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, so why do we have Crown Indigenous Relations and Indigenous Services? That's just...
Yesterday was National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and over the last several days, I've had the opportunity to listen to many survivors, Mr. Speaker, who speak about the enormous loss that they feel. I also have had a chance to speak to many who've been working towards advocating towards finding truth for the loved ones that never came home. This afternoon, we raised the survivors' flag right here on the Hill, and I ask all Canadians to reflect on this day and to ensure that they do their part towards reconciliation.
I don't think he knew, like, what he was trying to say there. I think he lost his script.
The honourable member from Thornhill.
After 9 years of this Liberal NDP costly coalition, grocery prices are up 27%, gas prices are up 40%, and now new data from Equifax shows that credit card debt is up too. The average Canadian now has $4,300 on their credit card, the highest on record since the last recession. Wow. Why are these Liberals using their carbon tax to inflate the price of everything, punishing families and forcing them to take on more debt just to get by?
Yeah, because everyone has to put everything on their credit card because there's no money in the checking account. So now they have to put money on credit.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I am really glad to have the chance to talk about our carbon rebates and our policies on credit cards. Because today we announced that Labour...
Wrong kind of Indian talking about reconciliation.
This month, thanks to our government's negotiations with credit card companies, the fees that small businesses have to pay are going down.
How about you make a law that caps credit card interest rates or lowers the interest percentage on a credit card? How about you put those legislations in?
Good news for small businesses across the country. And you know what else is good news? Small businesses are going to get big carbon rebates. That member of parliament, like me as an Ontario MP, an Ontario business with 10 employees is going to be getting
The honourable member from Thornhill.
$4,000, that's it? An Ontario business with 10 employees is only going to get $4,000 in carbon tax? So that's like nothing if you divide that up between all your 10 employees to cover like their carbon costs.
Speaker, this might be the only person left in the world that thinks paying more tax makes you richer and somehow stops climate change. The carbon tax isn't about the environment, and it's certainly not about affordability. It's about getting more money for her spending.
I mean, I thought he had a dot on his face. Oh, that's funny. Suck my balls, the fees are nominal for small businesses. You're gonna be rich, I know, right? Isn't that
addiction?
amazing?
Even Catherine McKenna admits that their plan was always to spend your money. It's clear that they've run out of money. They're going to raise the tax over and over again to 61 cents a litre as 2 million people use a food bank. How many more people will face poverty before they reverse course?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will give them a number. 69 million cars in avoided pollution. That's our number, Mr. Speaker. That's my number. That's our number on this side of the House. If we listened to them, we would do nothing to fight climate change. Pollution would be even on this side of the in avoided pollution. That's our number, Mr. Speaker. That's my number.
69 million cars in avoided pollution. That was the sentence he just said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I will give them a number. 69 million cars in avoided pollution. That's our number, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, 69 million cars in avoided pollution. That's not a sentence.
Speaker, that's my number. That's our number on this side of the House. If we listen to them, we would do nothing to fight climate change. Pollution would be even worse. Emissions would be 41% higher than what we've been doing. We're working to fight climate change. We're working to support Canadians to create the economy of the 21st century. They have nothing to offer, Mr.
Yeah, that number doesn't, now that you make that point, that number doesn't make sense. That's like the amount of cars Britain would need.
Speaker.
The honourable member from Foothills.
The NDP Liberals are desperately trying to convince Canadians that they're better off paying a higher and higher carbon tax. But the truth hurts. It appears that food inflation isn't a global issue, it's an NDP Liberal issue. Right. According to the food professor, because of the carbon tax, wholesale food prices in Canada are up 34% in every single category. And wholesale food prices in Canada are 37% higher than they are in the United States. Again, because of the carbon tax.
34% higher in wholesale food costs and 37% higher than the States. That is way too high.
Will the Prime Minister just admit he was wrong about his carbon tax and call a carbon tax election? Let's go.
The Honourable Minister for the Environment.
The total number of registered road vehicles in Canada was 26.3 million in 2022, edging up 0.3% from 2021. Wow. Maybe they're counting American cars that go to Canada? No, I don't, well, maybe. I don't know.
And climate change.
Mr. Speaker, it seems that Conservatives are now starting to listen to economists, and they quoted Trevor Toombs. Well, let's say what Trevor Toombs has to say about carbon pricing and price on food, Mr. Speaker. And I quote, "While concern around affordability is clearly warranted, climate policies are not a significant driver of the rising cost of living, nor will removing policies such as carbon pricing materially improve the situation." Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable from Foothills.
The NDP Liberals just can't handle the truth. And the truth is Canadians are being forced to food banks in record numbers. And even the Liberal member from Winnipeg North said when you attribute the increase in food prices of 34% to the carbon tax, that's absurd. But the food professor's own data shows the Liberals are wrong. That's right. What is absurd is increasing the carbon tax when 9 million Canadians don't know when their next meal is coming from. Yeah. Will the Prime Minister...
And that number is huge. Like, that is, I think, the provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba combined, that amount of people don't know where their next meal is coming from. Oh my God. He's not even, oh my God, he's not even in here. I thought he was in here and stuck. He just doesn't like that my door is shut.
Admit their tax plan is this carbon tax, call a carbon tax election so Canadians could put food on the table.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And being a farmer myself, I know what it's like for farmers to be on the front line of climate change. Our farmers face devastating storms like Hurricane Fiona, which tore down barns, killed cattle. We have floods, fires right across the country. This is the reason, one of the reasons why food prices are so high. We put a price on pollution that works, Mr. Speaker. And also, my honourable colleague in Israel...
They're including the car parks that have... the car plants that have thousands of unsold units. Those plants are massive. That's true.
His average farmer would receive $1,800 a year in carbon rebate. I know the Conservative Party...
The Honourable Member...
You got cut off.
Work that out. Two can have... who had just had 2 questions, can have more questions if they could work that out with their leadership, but not at this time. But I'll be happy to recognize the honourable member when he stands up on his feet, when it is time for the people from his political formation to get a question. Alors.
Order. Cost of living.
L'honorable.
The honourable member for Torres-Delbanville.
Skipping the French part.
Like to 2 4 years. So what will that for an election?
Alors.
Order, please.
J'invite.
For the second time today, I would ask the member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier, please, to not speak when someone else is. The Honourable
talking.
Minister of Employment and Seniors. Mr. Speaker, like
Skipping more French.
Forget.
more, thanks to the Liberal government.
Member from Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up. This government is forcing families to pay more for gas, for groceries, for home heating, at a time when they can least afford it. Now the province of New Brunswick is taking the Liberals to court to hold them accountable for the money their carbon tax is making off the backs of everyday Canadians. Will this government listen to Canadians, scrap their carbon tax, or will they finally let Canadians choose in a carbon tax election?
Neither. They just want us to stagnate.
Pay more for gas, for groceries, for home heat is taking the Liberals off the backs of everyday Canadians.
They just want us to
Will
stagnate.
This government in a carbon tax election?
That's all they want.
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps the member opposite can remind the Premier of New Brunswick and some of his members of his own bench that they asked Premier Higgs to go with the federal system because people get more money back, and that's exactly what the Premier did. The Premier of New Brunswick decided to go for the federal system because more people in New Brunswick get more money back than what they pay in carbon pricing, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, we know the Liberals would rather talk about anything else than talk about the fact that their 61 cent per litre carbon tax will mean that Canadians will have amongst the highest fuel prices in the world. Even the Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed that the Liberals' carbon tax costs Canadians more than they get back.
You can't talk about the Parliamentary Budget Officer. That's a problem. Remember they had to gag order him?
Canadians have no confidence in this Prime Minister or in his costly carbon tax. When will the Liberal government get out of the way that so Conservatives can finally axe the tax?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is very clear that the vast majority of Canadian families get more money back than they pay. That has been validated by 300 economists, very much including Trevor Toombs, who they like to quote these days as an economist of record. But I would say not having a climate plan and not having an economic plan for the future will have dire implications for the people who live in Atlantic Canada. These folks opposed the Atlantic Accords, the work that's being done to actually launch an offshore wind and a hydrogen industry to ensure that we are creating good jobs and economic opportunities in Atlantic Canada. They have no plan for climate. They have no plan for the economy.
Did you notice that he does kind of what Hitler did? Start off really calm and then start yelling.
The Honourable Member from New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of NDP Liberals, taxes up, costs up, crime's up, and time's up for this costly coalition's carbon tax scam. 9 premiers are now against the Liberal carbon tax. Today in New Brunswick, Premier Blaine Higgs is challenging this scam in court. Provinces don't get a rebate for heating schools and fueling ambulances. Carbon taxes are not revenue neutral when provinces and municipalities end up paying more for essential services. When will the Green Liberal NDP coalition axe the tax or keep making health care and education more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps the member opposite doesn't remember that he himself asked Premier Higgs to go with the federal system so that more people in New Brunswick would get more money back than what they pay in carbon pricing. Perhaps he forgot that he made himself that request to his Premier, Mr. Speaker.
Wow. Gonna have
The honourable member for Lac Saint Louis bills. This is of a
Skipping the French.
she could have the billion. Honourable Minister of Others as to want me to pay back on sock. Honourable Minister of Government presents to the Honourable Block and moratorium that environment of
holy crap.
Can the Minister of our Governor's Day?
Member from St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, today is National Seniors Day, a day to celebrate and thank seniors across the country. Our government knows the importance of promoting the health and well-being of seniors, and that is why we make investments towards programs and services for them. Can the Minister of Health update Canadians on what we are doing to protect and support the health of seniors across this country?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for St. John's East for her tireless advocacy and really championing the health of seniors in
I
this
love
country.
how they always say that. Thank you for your tireless work and your advocacy. That's what they say to the people who give them the softball question.
I look at just Newfoundland and Labrador, one of 13 agreements signed in every jurisdiction in the country on aging with dignity, helping seniors to age at home and improve our long-term care facilities. And critically, Mr. Speaker, those agreements include for the first time common indicators so we can see that progress in data and see how provinces are doing. Obviously, the work to ensure hundreds of thousands of seniors get dental care, as well as what we're doing in pharmacare, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Courtenay, Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, the Nuu-Chah-Nulth Tribal Council has declared a state of emergency in every single one of their 14 nations territories. The lack of mental health support, treatment, recovery, and harm reduction services is causing irreparable harm.
Oh, but don't you understand? The Liberal government's policy is to just hand out medical-grade drugs to everybody that's addicted.
This Liberal government has failed to deliver the urgently needed supports, and young and older people are paying the price. Indigenous people continue to die at a higher rate than non-Indigenous people. This isn't reconciliation. Action is needed now. When will the Liberals stop with the empty words and deliver the urgent funding that the Nuu-Chah-Nulth people need to save lives?
Thank you for your donation.
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, that's exactly the path that our government has been on, working hand in hand with First Nations and with Indigenous leaders to ensure that programs and services that are delivered by First Nations and Indigenous people are available to their members so that people can heal from the trauma of colonization, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, yes, it's just the trauma of colonization and not the continued trauma of classism and, you know, forcing people to strive and live hand to mouth when not everybody was doing that. Even in the Indigenous population, there were people that were succeeding, and now it's regressing. So,
something that just yesterday our government stood up with many survivors across the country to acknowledge. This has deep impacts on communities, and we'll continue this hard work together.
The Honourable Member from Churchill, Kiwatanaski.
Mr. Speaker, Liberals spent yesterday professing support for First Nations, the same First Nations the government is currently fighting in court over something as basic as clean drinking water.
Yep. Facts. There are so many boil water advisories still going on across the country, and so many court cases from Indigenous nations towards the federal government because of these, but no, they're doing everything just
Canada's
perfectly.
lawyers are saying that, quote, Canada doesn't know any legal obligations or duties to operate First Nations water systems. They even say that when ministers make promises, it's just, quote, context specific and can be ignored. This is the Liberal approach to reconciliation. Promise clean drinking water to First Nations and then direct your lawyers to fight First Nations in court on clean drinking water. Will the Liberals cut the hypocrisy, stop fighting Shamattawa and other First Nations in court, and deliver clean drinking water once and for all?
No.
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, it's really heartening to hear the Member of Parliament from the NDP speak so eloquently about the need to move quicker and faster on alleviating long-term boil water advisories.
But yet, I love how they're just like, oh, it's really heartening to hear the NDP say this after they've stopped working with us and supporting us. Like, that's what she's trying to say.
Across this country. In fact, since we've taken office, we've lifted over 145 long-term boil water advisories, prevented well over 200.
There are even that many to begin with. The fact that there are still more than 100. The fact that you shouldn't be proud of this.
Mr. Speaker, and we're going to continue that hard work. I assume from her comments that means she's going to support this new legislation and ensure it has safe passage through the House.
I'd like to thank honourable members for carrying themselves out.
That was pathetic, that answer. And like I said, the vote of no confidence was defeated. We do have the rest of the month of October to see if the Liberals will pull an agreement with the Bloc out of their asses or not. I doubt that they will, be with the way that they keep fighting with the NDP and the Bloc Québécois. I highly doubt that they will actually form an agreement going forward. I think that we will see an election probably, if not in 2024, early 2025, we'll probably see a spring election at this point. So I think that's what we can be looking forward to. And the debates are going to be, they're going to be spicy, I have a feeling. It would be nice to have Trudeau back in the House of Commons at least one day this week, just to see him and Poilievre go at it. But, he's probably off gallivanting somewhere else, or mourning the fact that François Macron has gone home. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Because those posts of him with François, with Macron, those were interesting. Like the hugging and the holding hands and the so happy to be spending time with him. It was just really, really cringy. And there was one person who was like, yeah, we get it. You're in love. It was kind of funny. So that's where we're going to leave tonight's stream. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to go take my nighttime meds and get ready for bed. So I hope you guys had a wonderful time. And I will take a look at what happened with the debate tonight. And we'll see. I'll probably do a bit of coverage of that tomorrow as well. Don't Walk, Run will probably have something up about it. A good breakdown. And like I said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.